The women in Hazel Crest saw our story last week and were in utter disbelief. They say the same people who took over the Tinley Park home did the same thing to their property. What they had to do to get these people out of their home might just shock you. These two ladies are business partners. They own this house in Hazel Crest, which they were hoping to sell this month. But last week, they got a call from a realtor informing them a group of people with two dogs moved into their home.
Am I being punked? I can't believe this is happening to us.
They say they rushed to their property and met this man who identified himself as LaShawn Rankin. They say they took this photo of him from their front yard as they asked him to leave. The ladies say he claimed that he paid a landlord $4,000 in cash to rent this home for his family and signed a lease. He said he wasn't leaving, so the ladies called the police.
They told us that this is a civil matter. It is absolutely nothing that they can do. They showed them a lease with their name on it. How do we know that they're not being scammed?
The ladies learned their only recourse was to evict them, which could take months. They say the people inside asked them for money to leave. And after negotiating, the ladies had them sign a cash-for-key agreement and gave them $2,700 to vacate.
I did not want to pay. I wanted to call their bluff. I thought that if we actually went the legal route of eviction, I felt like eventually they would have given in. However, I did know that they would have longer access to the house and we could lose potential buyers.
A couple days later, the ladies saw our story about a man in Tinley Park who claimed squatters had moved into his house and refused to leave.
And I see a dog come out, and I see this young gentleman walking the dog. I see the coat. I said, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this is them, this is them.
Take a look at the Tinley Park lease and the Hazel Crest lease. They're nearly identical.
We are going to criminally investigate.
Mitchell Davis, chief of police in Hazel Crest, says LaShawn Rankin is connected to other alleged squatting cases.
That's the common name in Tinley Park, Hazel Crest, and in South Highland that we've seen.
He says current law prevents police from removing alleged squatters on the spot. If they have a signed lease, it's hard for an officer to determine if it's invalid. But Chief Davis says with this new information, he's working with the Cook County State's attorney to see if any crimes like extortion or fraud were broken.
We had someone that was interested. She was here on her second showing. She wanted to buy our home. She's gone now.
These ladies say they want the alleged squatters to be stopped and held responsible.
I believe that they are house hopping. I think they're very sophisticated. I feel like they have a routine that they follow.
When the ladies finally got their property back, they say it smelled of marijuana and there was trash everywhere, so they had to pay to get it cleaned. The Hazel Crest police chief, he says homeowners should ask their neighbors to watch over their homes when they are away and install cameras outside and inside the home. That way you can call 911 the minute you detect someone breaking in. As of now, no one has been charged with a crime, but police are investigating and working with the state's attorney. We also reached out to LaShawn Rankin for a comment, but we have not heard back. Samantha Chapman, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
A Houston woman is in a legal battle with a man she says is squatting in a home that's been in her family for more than 70 years. During this tangled legal battle, a neighbor called our KPRC2 help desk asking if we could look into the case since the home has now become a neighborhood eyesore. KPRC2 investigates Robert Arnold dove into the documents. He is joining us now live from Sunnyside. Robert.
This house was built by a Houston couple in the late 1940s and left to their 6 daughters. One surviving daughter lived here until 2014. She moved out after a break-in. In her absence, someone moved in, and when she tried to sell the property, that person sued her, claiming he's been taking care of the house, so now it belongs to him.
It's a huge part of my family because my father built that house.
This is Glory Gendrett and her son, Lloyd Hudson Jr.
I saw a guy approach me and saying there was his house. And so I'm like, house. I grew up in this house. It's my family's house.
Gendrett moved out of this house in 2014, citing security concerns after a break-in and not being able to afford property taxes. A few years later, she got a call from a neighbor.
I was told from my neighbor that someone had broken into the house. He changed the locks because I came with my keys, and he had changed. He said he didn't, but he did because none of my keys worked.
Gendrette says she went to police but was told it was a civil matter and finding an attorney isn't cheap.
I went to different places trying to get somebody to help me get this taken care of. You know, what do I need to do? Who do I need to talk to?
Her son tried to help, but said the man living here claimed his mom just handed him the keys.
My mother has 2 kids, 2 grandkids. Why would she just give you the keys?
The man still wouldn't budge. Fast forward to last year, and a neighbor offered to buy the home.
It's destroying the neighborhood. It's an eyesore.
What did you find out when you went to try and purchase the property?
I found out that there was squatters in the property, and that didn't want to leave.
You can't buy this until this is cleared up, can you?
I can't do anything until this matter is resolved.
Gendrette and her son tried to evict the man, but were slapped with a lawsuit. A man by the name of Marquise Busby claims he's been taking care of the property for 10 years. Therefore, it's now his property through adverse possession. He claims he's got utilities in his name. He's kept up the landscaping and the exterior, along with raising horses here. You can see the current state of the property for yourself. Let's hear his side of the story. Hello, Marquise? Hello, Marquise? Hello, anybody here? Hello, Marquise. We left a message for his attorney. Maybe she'll call us back.
These cases are very, very rare.
Donna Carney is the litigation director for Lone Star Legal Aid. She says she can't comment directly on this case, but says to win an adverse possession lawsuit, a person has to prove they've been acting as the owner for at least 10 years.
One of the other elements that's more challenging is that the person living there needs to have been there in a way that's, quote, open and hostile. And that means that they're not hiding the fact that they are possessing the property. And in fact, they do not have the owner's permission.
Because we have strong evidence that, you know, Marquise is not the owner, obviously. So we just need to get into court and prove it.
See that little white piece of paper? That's my business card. I put that there this morning when we came by, and it hasn't moved since. We also have not yet gotten a call back from Marquise Busby's attorney. Meanwhile, Glory Gendrette is still trying to find an attorney to represent her in this case, but she says it's expensive. The case is set to go to trial next year. We will keep on top of what happens in that case. A few suggestions here. If you own a piece of property and you don't live there, make sure to check on it regularly. Post no trespassing signs. The faster you can find somebody trying to move in, the easier it will be to get them out.
A local Army officer is back in her DeKalb County home tonight, a week after we told you about how a squatter had moved in and was living in her place. Well, the woman's crediting Channel 2 consumer investigator Justin Gray for getting her back in her home. And Justin with us, and that squatter is now behind bars.
Well, Justin, normally homeowners are told they have to go through the eviction process, which can take months. That's what Lieutenant Colonel Delia Duray was initially told by DeKalb police earlier this month. But after our Channel 2 Action News story aired, the DeKalb Sheriff's Office contacted her and said they will circumvent that process with something called an intruder affidavit.
If it wasn't for Channel 2, Justin Gray, I wouldn't be here today, and I'm truly grateful.
Look at all the stuff pulled out of this DeKalb County house. The alleged squatter, Vincent Simon, had only been in the home a matter of weeks, but you can see he had really moved in. Even his dogs had to be carted out. Our Channel 2 Action News photographer was there, camera rolling, as Simon was moved out of Lieutenant Colonel Delia Duray's Ellenwood home by order of an intruder affidavit.
Just as I finished renovating, you leisurely moved in like it's yours. No. I was not going to let this go.
It was 1 week ago that Lieutenant Colonel Duray first reached out to Channel 2. She put her home up for sale while away on Army active duty in Chicago when this convicted criminal moved in, putting up beware of dogs signs and cardboard in the windows, claiming he had a lease. Duray was told by police she would have to take him to court and go through a formal eviction process.
I felt violated. Had I not been serving my country, I would have been in my home.
But this week, Duray got to see Simon led out of the house in cuffs.
Vincent, your time is up.
It feels good when you can return the home back to their homeowner.
Police found a gun and suspected ecstasy in the home. You can see the giant gun safe Simon had brought in. As a convicted felon, he legally cannot have a firearm.
He attempted to show us the lease. That's not what the law allows.
Normally showing a bogus lease or even just claiming to have a lease is enough to get a squatter case kicked to a months-long court battle.
You want to have protections of tenants, but you don't want protection of squatters.
DeKalb County Attorney John Ernst has been fighting a similar squatter case for a client since February and says these cases regularly drag on for months with delays both in the courts and with the marshals. His client still isn't back in his home.
It's been 3 months since they were moved in, and we'll probably have at least another month and a half.
But with the sheriff's office bypassing that eviction process, DeRay now has her house back.
I came here with a mission in mind to get him out of my house and put him in jail where he belongs.
And mission accomplished for Lieutenant Colonel DeRay. The attorney we talked to, John Ernst, he's also the mayor of Brookhaven and says he has been looking at this on the public policy side as well on how to make the process more efficient. Obviously, the DeKalb sheriff stepping in here with that intruder affidavit sped up all of this for Lieutenant DeRay by definitely weeks and likely months, Justin.
Justin Gray, well done. Thank you. Now, there are ways to protect your property from squatters. Some of the easiest things that you can do is to secure all entrances to your property. Also, post signs saying no trespassing. You can hire a property management company to carry out regular home inspections, and they can help you find a desirable tenant to make sure that there are no squatters on your property.
This man is on a mission to take back his parents' house after he says squatters moved in.
I just felt like, if they can take a house, I can take a house.
Flash Shelton says after his dad died, his mom needed to sell their home. But when realtors tried to list the property, they found somebody already living there. Flash suspected it was a woman who'd called him asking to rent the place.
The woman who wanted to rent said she was a prison guard. She was being evicted.
Shelton says he told the lady no, but she moved into the property in Northern California anyway. He says law enforcement wouldn't help, so he drove 10 hours from L.A.
I got in there around 4 a.m. I see cars in the driveway, and I figure I'm going to just sit it out.
Once the squatters left for the day, Shelton says he entered his home. Yep, his key still worked. What he discovered inside was shocking. Boxes and furniture everywhere.
It was so overwhelming. Just my stomach dropped. And, this is a home that I have memories with my parents in.
And look, that appears to be a California corrections officer's uniform.
When you saw a uniform that suggested that the person who was squatting was also a corrections officer, that must have been mind-blowing for you.
It was mind-blowing.
What happens next is just as shocking. The suspected squatter arrives, shakes his hand, and admits it's her stuff in his home.
I'm really sorry about all this. I really am.
It's been in the house for a long time. I'm saying, get your stuff out.
He gave her until midnight to move out, and video shows people at the home helping her pack up.
A sprawling North Atlanta mansion raided by armed officers carrying shields, prepared for trouble. Just take a look at this video. This is stunning to see. Prepared for trouble with suspected squatters. This dramatic video showing their mission to get them off that property altogether. News Nation's Elizabeth Pran is following this story for us. Elizabeth, we don't usually see this type of law enforcement response to squatters. What even led up to this raid to begin with?
Yeah, they've had their eyes on this group for quite a while. And it all started because there's a new law that passed back in July, right? Squatting's become a nationwide issue. It's certainly a problem, right? The Georgia Squatter Reform Act basically gives squatters who are living inside a home a citation. Then they have 72 hours, they have 3 days to present a lease, some type of proof of residence. And if they don't do that, the misdemeanor turns into a felony, and that's why you see authorities take measures like this. The video is absolutely breathtaking. It's this massive 15,000 square foot home in North Atlanta. Marshals posted this on social media. They were heavily armed, they had shields, they had drones. This was an early morning raid. We called the investigators because it's certainly under wraps, right? There's a number of details that we're waiting to learn. But as you mentioned, they did take all precautions because allegedly there were reports these were sovereign citizens, meaning these are folks who don't believe that U.S. law applies to them. According to the FBI, these are extremists. They need to take all precautions, which explains why there was so much that went into this raid in the early morning hours. Marquis?
Yeah, Elizabeth, this looks like the raids we saw in Diddy's homes, back in March, but for a completely different reason. Just shocking to see. Gosh, Elizabeth Pran, thanks so much.
A Shepparton family says it has lost everything and have been forced to move house after their rental property was overtaken by squatters while they were overseas on holiday. The family returned to find someone else had moved in and cleared the house of valuables.
Drawers and cupboards rummaged through and ransacked. Valuables stolen. This is what a Shepparton family came home to after holidaying in Nepal for 3 weeks.
Really terrifying. They could have a weapon, and then it was really shocking, and especially having kids with you.
The family with 2 young children returned in early May to find a man had made himself at home, sitting on their couch, smoking and eating pizza, watching their TV.
Drunk, he was enjoying his dinner, and when my husband said, "Who are you?" he said, "I live here."
Tens of thousands of dollars worth of gold and valuables are missing, with drug paraphernalia, alcohol, even groceries and toiletries moved in.
All our valuables, stuff like gold, silver, clothes, bags, kitchenware, everything were gone. My wedding jewelry. That was gifted by my late father.
The family called the police and the squatter was removed, only for him to return multiple times, claiming the house was now his.
Police told me that there were 17 to 20 people coming in and out of that house every day.
The family has been moved to emergency accommodation and the locks have been changed at the address.
Hello, anyone home?
With the house seemingly vacant.
Neighbours were forced to call police at least half a dozen times while the squatters were in the home because of loud and drunken behaviour. Now the locks have been changed, they're hoping this saga is now over.
The police investigation continues. The family has set up a GoFundMe as they try to start fresh.